Hello guys, Simply Amazing here. Welcome back to another Path of Titans video. And I'm so excited to make this video for you guys. I am going to be ranking all of the carnivores from worst to best, in my opinion. And we're going to see which ones take the top of the list, which ones are very underwhelming. And then we're going to discuss it in the comments below. Now, before we get started, I just have to say this is basically my opinion. So if you don't agree with my list, then I completely understand. Just drop your own list in the comments below. But don't get toxic about it, because obviously everyone's going to have different opinions when it comes to certain dinos. And if you want me to make a separate video ranking all of the herbivores from worst to best, then if this video reaches 50 likes, I will make another video doing all of the herbivores as well. But I didn't want to do them all together. I wanted to separate them as far as ranking wise. So there's 13 carnivores in total, and I'm going to be going off of basically their stats, personal experiences, PvP style, and just what I think of them overall. So coming in at number 13, we have this guy right here. I can't really read his name, but you know, this little feather raptor that doesn't take any fall damage. Now, although these things are very fast, and they basically take like no fall damage when you jump off high areas. Now, if you jump off a super high cliff, you will take a little bit of fall damage, but your health regen is really fast. The reason I put him last, though, is even though it's good that he doesn't take fall damage and he's pretty quick, when it comes to combat, I feel like they're just more of a nuisance than actually threatening. I feel like other dinos just see them as a little snack. No one really tries to chase them because it's just a waste of time. But otherwise, these things can be very fun to play when you just want to chill and just mess with some dinos. But if you're looking to actually cause some damage, you would probably need a group of like 10 of these to really fuck with like any of the bigger predators. So I had them put them at 13 for now, but you guys probably have different opinions for those of you that like these smaller dino creatures. Next up, we have the Latin that comes in at number 12. So the Latin is another fast creature, and according to the stat chart, he actually has the same exact speed as the previous raptor that we just covered. So speed and health-wise, there is no difference between those two. But the Latin does have a little bit better stamina at 450 compared to the feathered raptor that just has 250 max stamina. So that can come in more handy when you have to do long runs, obviously with the same speed and the same health, but having more stamina can be a little bit of a game changer. And I think these things have a little bit more effect when it comes to being in packs. So that's why I put these above the feathered raptors. Other than that, I don't think they're really stronger than any of the other carnivores on the list. Coming in at number 11, we have the Alioris. Now, the reason I put him at level 11 is because I feel like he can be very weak / low to mid tier. I don't really see him being a threatening force. He does actually have the lowest max health in the game out of all the dinos, even the smaller little raptors. He has the lowest amount of health, coming in at 400, while the Latin has 500 health, making him basically the weakest creature with the lowest health in the game, according to the stat chart. Now, when it comes to his bite attack only does 30 damage, which is one of the lowest damages for a bite in the game compared to other dinos that have 50 or more damage. Overall, I just find his moveset and everything pretty underwhelming, and I had to put him pretty low on the list, so we're going to put him at number 11. Next up, we have the Conch, this ugly thing right here. I just hate how it looks for some reason, but yes, the Conch is coming in at number 10. Now, I put the Conch at number 10 because even though he is pretty small, he does have pretty good speed, but he also has the second lowest health in the game at 425 compared to the Alio that has 400. So he's definitely still low on health, and you have to really be careful. This dino is more of a pack dino, so you would need a group of these to really do some damage. Now, I went, as our TRex, I went against a group of these, and they can be very effective with some good teamwork. But obviously, standalone on its own, they're pretty much below tier, and I don't think they really deserve to be any higher on the list. But the good thing about the Conch is he has the second highest max stamina in the game at 400, right below the Latin, who has 450 max stamina. So definitely good with the max stamina part and good in packs, but other than that, they're pretty average, so I have to put him in at number 10. Coming in at number 9, we have the Dasp. Now, I did make a video on is it worth your time growing one of these, and I guess you would have to watch it to know, but we are putting him at rank number 9 for many reasons. Now, when it comes to the Dasp, I feel like he's pretty much underwhelming. You would expect him to be a little bit stronger, especially compared to other dinos, but instead he really falls short on a lot of things. Although his moveset is pretty good, it's pretty much the same moveset that the T-Rex has with the Bone Snap and the Tyrant Roar and everything like that. He has 100 less health than the Allosaurus. Allosaurus has 700 max health, where the Dasp has 600 max health. But he does have a bite attack of 65 damage compared to the Allo, whose bite damage is only 60. But when it comes to combat, I feel like he is really not up to par. I feel like he's easy to kill against a lot of dinos. especially dinos either his size or bigger. I know Dasp can be good in certain situations, which is why I didn't put him so low, but he's definitely not higher up on the list, so I had to put him in at number 9. Coming in at number 8, we have the Meg. I know there are probably going to be some mixed feelings about this one, but the Meg has to be number 8 for me for right now. Opinions might change later on. Now, when it comes to the Meg, the main good thing about him is his speed. On land, he is very fast, and he's very a nuisance too. And if you go against a group of Megs, goddamn can they be deadly and evasive. So you really have to watch out for these things because they're really actually good. Now the Meg has a little bit more health than the Dasp. The Dasp has 600 health, the Meg has 650 health. His sprint speed is 1100, the same speed as the Allosaurus, the Conch, and the Sierra. So if he was chasing an Allosaurus, he could pretty much keep up with them for the most part. Now his bite attack only does 50 damage and tail attack does 30 damage while doing 0.25% of venom with his bites. Now I feel like because the venom has gotten nerfed a little bit, I feel like the venom part is really not that effective as it should be. But other than that, I feel like he's a pretty solid mid-tier dino. And I will be doing a separate Is It Worth Your Time video on the Meg soon, so make sure you look out for that. Coming in at number 7, we have the Metri. Now the Metri is a solid dino, only having 550 max health. He does have 1150 max speed, which is a little bit higher than the Conch and the Sierra, so that could pretty much come in handy a little bit. Now in packs, these things are very deadly. They have a bite venom attack, they have a claw attack, and then they have a tail swipe. Now the Metri's bite attack only does 30 damage, and that's pretty much one of the lowest damage in the game compared to other dinos who average about 50 bite damage. Even the Latin and the little feathered Raptor has 50 bite damage, while the Metri only has a 30 bite damage. But where I feel like he makes up for that is he has a claw attack that does 40 damage. The claw attack does more damage than the bite, so I would utilize the claw more than the bite. But together with the venom can be very effective. So venom bite with the clawing, with his good speed, I feel like you can be very good. And that's why I had to put the Metri in at number 7. Coming in at number 6, we have the Sierra. So I was having a tough decision whether I should put the Sierra before or after the Metri, because I couldn't decide which one was better. But I decided the Sierra was a little bit better, mainly because it has a little bit more health than the Metri at 600 when the Metri has 550. And I feel like he has an advantage when it comes to having more attacks with a bone snap, a headbutt, increased turning radius, a claw attack, the paddle to increase swim speed, thick scales, the balanced tail or tail attack. He just has a lot more options compared to the Metri, and that's why I had to put the Sierra in at number 6. The Sierra's bite attack does 50 damage, while claw attack only does 30 damage. Tail attack does 20 damage, and the headbutt does 70 damage. So don't underestimate that headbutt. Even on the Sierra, that headbutt can be a lot better than the bite. Coming in at number 5, we have the Suko. I had a hard time placing the Suko in a certain spot, but I decided to put him in at number 5. Now, when it comes to the Suko, he has the same health as the Allosaurus at 700 max health. And he also has better max stamina than the Allo at 200, where the Allo is at 150. Although his sprint speed is at 950 below a lot of the other fast dinos, he still can move pretty fast on land. And because he's also a good swimmer, I feel like that helps him as well when he has to go from land to water combat. He has a bite attack that does 50 damage, a claw attack that does 40 damage with 0.5 bleed, and then a tail attack that does 30. Now, although I did do a Is It Worth Growing series on the Suko, and I pretty much was undecided whether he was worth growing or not. I think he just wasn't for me, but I can't ignore the fact that he has some good stats, and I think he's a pretty solid mid-tier dino, so that's why I had to put him in at number 5. Next dino we have needs no introduction, the Allosaurus, coming in at number 4. Now, the reason I put the Allosaurus above the Suko is because personally, I think the Allosaurus is more fun. I think he can be more deadly, and I just like him all around. He was the first dino I ever played and got to adult, and I just love him, especially when you play in packs. If you go to Allo Pack, it's so much more fun than just playing a Suko. So I had to put him in at number 4, because even though he does lack in a lot of areas, I feel like he can be very, very good in some ways. The Allosaurus has a pretty average moveset. He has a bite attack that does 60 damage, which is actually pretty high than the average 50 damage compared to other dinos like the Suko or the Sarco. But his claw attack only does 30 damage, where the Suko does a claw attack of 40 damage. The Allosaurus basically has the lowest claw attack damage out of the whole list. Every other dino like the Metri or the Suko with claw attack has 40 damage, where the Allo is only 30 damage for his claw attack. But the Allosaurus is good for traveling around the map, intimidating others when you're in packs, but I definitely feel like he can use a little bit of buff in the future. Hopefully the devs can make him a little bit better. But other than that, Allosaurus is definitely one of my favorite dinos to use in this game. Even in his current state, I feel like he is very solid, and I had to put him in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have the Spino. Now, I did a separate video on this, but the Spino is pretty solid dino. I know he's not the best, but because of how big he is, his intimidation size, his ability to really fight on land and in water, can really be a big difference, especially with the build you have. You have a defense build or a speed build, can all make the difference. But overall, the Spino is pretty solid. He has the same amount of health as the T-Rex at 1,000. The T-Rex and the Spino is the only one with 1,000 max health, so I feel that gives him a little bit edge on others, especially if he has a defense build on him also. Now, compared to the T-Rex, the Spino does have less max stamina than the T-Rex at 100, while the T-Rex has 150 max stamina. His sprint speed on land is obviously slower than the T-Rex on land, and the Spino's stamina recovery is literally the same as the T-Rex stamina recovery, which I find pretty slow. But I put him in at number 3 because I feel like I've seen a lot of cases where the Spino can be really good and useful. Ability to fight on land and in water really gives him the edge. Oh, I forgot to mention, he also has a bite attack that does 70 damage, the second highest damage for a bite attack in the game. T-Rex bite attack does 80 damage. His bite attack is the second strongest in the game. His claw attack does 65 damage, which is the strongest claw attack in the carnivore category. And then he has a charge bite that can go up to 170 damage, so that really gives him the edge as well. Now, you guys might think I'm crazy, but we're going to put the Sarco in at number 2. Now, I think the Sarco is a little bit better than the Spino in my opinion. The Sarco only has 800 max health, while the Spino has 1,000, but they do have the same max stamina. The Sarco has a little bit better health recovery than the Spino does. The Sarco's sprint speed is at 900, where the Spino is at 700, even on land. So even though you think the Sarco moves slow on land, he can move a little bit faster than the Spino could on land, which makes sense because the Spino is a lot bigger, and obviously you have to be careful of other land creatures that can easily catch you. But where the Sarco shines is he has the highest swimming speed in the game at 600 swimming speed, higher than any other dino that's able to swim in water, making you the fastest. Now, the Sarco's moveset is pretty good. I personally enjoy it. His bite attack is only 50 damage, the ripping bite is 25 damage with 1.5 bleed, and the charge bite can do up to 210 damage. That is like one of the highest damages on the stat list. His ability to just sit underwater, open his mouth, and then just do a charge bite on whoever's sitting on the beach is crazy, and I cannot tell you how many times I've been hit by that. Because you never know when a Sarco is just sitting underwater watching you and then charges at you when you, like, let's say you're on the beach and you just lay down to get some stamina. And I had this happen where I thought I was alone and I had 2 Sarcos charge out at me to attack me. And that charge bite does a lot of damage. So you really have to be wary of these guys because in packs or alone they can be deadly. So I had to put them in at number 2. And then coming in at number 1, we have the T-Rex. Now I know the T-Rex is probably the most overrated dino in the game, but you cannot ignore his stats and his overall power when it comes to this game. And it makes sense because the T-Rex, you know, one of the best dinos ever, strongest dinos ever, strongest apexes. So I had to give him the number 1 slot, mainly because he can be very good when you know how to fight with him in combat. Obviously the highest max health in the game, which is at 1,000, and the Spino as well, 1,000, so definitely comes in handy when you're having the most health. T-Rex has a bite attack that does 80 damage, the highest amount of damage for a bite attack in the game. Tail attack only does 30 damage. He has a crushing bite that can do up to 40 damage. With the bone break, he has bone snap and he has tyrant's roar, which can stack up. Overall, he's a pretty high tier dino just based on his size, his strength, especially if you're fighting multiple T-Rexes. That can be really threatening, even if you're going against some big herbs like a bars or a duck. You know, T-Rexes in group are no joke, and you really have to be more strategic when you go against them. Not saying they're impossible to kill, because I've killed a lot of T-Rexes, even with Allosauruses. You just have to be more smart when it comes to them. But the T-Rex, I think, is in number 1 slot. And that is pretty much my list as ranking all of the carnivores from worst to best. Hopefully, I made a good list. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, you could put your own list in the comments below. Let me know if I missed anything. And if you enjoy it, remember I said 50 likes on this video, and then we can see, I'll do another list for the herbivores as well.